Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. If you want to keep up to date with all of the shows that happen with UPRN, please head to their website, uprntalkradio.com, and you can follow along on all their social media. There's always new shows coming on, archives everywhere. If you want to watch us live, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Facebook, Twitch, Rumble, Roku. Shows are everywhere. Hi, Laura Lee. Hi, James. Thanks for being here. Let me just switch this. Right, Lisa? I was running like crazy. Thank you, Laura Lee. I was like, I wanted to, if I could lean back, you guys can, look, I'll roll in my chair. Hi, Michelle. Thank you, Howie, for sharing us out. Let's just switch this up. I was so excited about today's show. You know, for as ADHD as I can get, which is a lot, I stayed pretty on track today. I thought for sure I was gonna like forget stuff, but we did pretty good. I'm so excited about today. I'm going to, okay. I need to let everybody know that's in the chat. If you guys are going to be participating in the chat today, make sure that you have a pen and paper with you because we are going to do a paranormal trivia game today. Super fun, easy questions. There are going to be 15 of them. And if you play along and send me, the first person that sends me all of the answers when we're done our game at the end of the show, emails me all the answers is going to win something today. So go grab a pen and a piece of paper, get your notes out on your phone, get ready. Hi, Julie. Thanks, Jackie. Let's bring our guests out. So I had the pleasure of meeting two of these three ladies at the Paracon in Thunder Bay this year. And it was so much fun. And you know, when you meet, it's, you know, when you meet people and you just click, it feels like soul family. That's what it felt like. So my guest and co-hosts today are Beyond the Haunting Investigations, Corine, Leanne, and Kelly. They have been together for several years, pursuing a shared interest in the paranormal and supernatural. As a team of sisters and best friends, they have traveled the globe in search of the unknown. In 2022, they were fortunate enough to team up with a Small Army Entertainment and T&E to film their two-part documentary, Haunted Gold Rush, in British Columbia. As they're all from British Columbia, kicking off the project in their own backyard was incredible, humbling, and they won the BC Hospitality and Tourism Innovation Award for the project. Due to the success of the Haunted Gold Rush team, the team filmed season 1 of History's Most Haunted and the following winter, and it started airing on T&E in Canada in 2023 and internationally on Haunt TV. The team has since won a 2022-04 Leo Award for Best Host for the series, and they have exciting projects in the works for 2025, and we are going to hear all about that now. Welcome to the show, Kelly, Corine, and Leanne.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
Butter.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you. It is Christmassy, right?
Very much so.
And your tree is great also.
So my Christmas tree starts in Halloween. And it has Halloween decorations on it, and then Christmas, and then it has Valentine's Day. I find a holiday and try to keep this tree up as long as possible.
Fun.
We are in an older house that has no storage, so if I can find a way to keep things as they are up without trying to find space under a freaking bed, we're good.
Brilliant.
For people who may not have had an opportunity to meet you guys, can you share a little bit about how this all started, where it came about, a little bit of your background? Who would like to start? Do you want to start, Kelly? We'll kind of go around, or is Leanne like the Kickstarter?
Let's start with
Normally it's Corine. Corine starts her off.
And she's the oldest. Okay, thank you. Well, if you couldn't tell, Leanne and I are sisters.
So I was gonna have my sister here because I wanted Leanne and Christy to meet so badly. And we've had this horrible gastrointestinal flu going through the house, and she's like, "No, you're on your own." Like,
well, I say hi to my fellow younger sister.
Yes.
Okay, well, anyways, going back. So I am clearly the older sister, and growing up, I've had experiences since I was 3 years old, and that's kind of a long story, but I've had stuff happening forever. So if you want the full version here, or the side short version, or what?
You share what you feel comfortable sharing. I love that you're sharing, and you can also share what you're kind of doing now too.
Okay. So we'll just do the story. Okay, so when I was 3, funny story about that. I was in a car accident with my grandmother, and that wasn't funny, but it was pretty life-changing for me, because in that moment, when I was in the back seat, I flew to the front, she fell out of the car, she was dragged, we landed in this, it was horrible. And so when I woke up, I was in the front seat of this car with this gnome that I had been tasked with looking after in the back seat, and I didn't have a seatbelt on, and luckily I didn't, because I think that might have been even worse. And anyway, so I woke up and my grandma was looking in from the outside, broken back. I thought she was dead. In that moment, I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, my grandmother's dead, and I'm stuck in this car, and I started screaming. And within a few minutes, all of a sudden there was this man next to me in this car, and I'd also been taught stranger danger, so it was like twice as terrifying at that moment, but it's another story. So he kept telling me everything was going to be okay. He was in this black and green and white plaid shirt, and I was like, who is this guy? I just remember screaming and him telling me it would be okay. Soon as help arrived, I'm like, well, what about the guy? And he wasn't there. So at the time, I was in this massive accident scene, so whatever. I got home from the hospital that night, and the first thing I saw when I walked in the door was this man in the plaid shirt. And so I remember asking, like, who's the guy? Well, my parents had me back at the hospital pretty fast because there was no man. And so I started to see this man over and over and over. So every day of my life, he would start to tell me things. He would be like, so-and-so's going to pass away tomorrow. I'd get in trouble. Sure enough, the next day, someone would pass away. So by the time I was 9, 10 years old, I had been tested for everything: schizophrenia, brain tumors, every brain scan known to humankind, blood work, like everything. And everyone was like, there's nothing wrong. So I just learned, you don't talk about that stuff, I guess. And I was questioning my own sanity. And then all of a sudden, along comes Leanne 5 years later.
Yeah. And I remember she paved the way for my parents, so I never had to be tested for anything. But
you're very welcome.
We shared a bedroom, and we would play this game called Spot the Spirit, because I would see shadow figures. I'd see things differently, but I'd see things where we'd point out and play a game. And, not a lot of kids play Spot the Spirit when they're very young. So
I was really just testing her, but sure, the game.
Yeah. And it just kind of evolved. But I was the kid, Corine held it in because of her experience, but I shouted this from the rooftops. And I was the one watching X-Files, listening to Coast Radio, fully involved in the paranormal, supernatural, and talking to everyone about it. I was the weird kid. When you say keep it weird, that was totally me. Just growing up. So it was a very, even though we had similar childhoods, we treated it very differently.
Right.
And then eventually, I remember testing you, and you kept getting it bang on accurate. So I was like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe it's not just me. Maybe there's some other people have this. And so that kind of opened me up. So I started talking to Leanne a little bit more.
Yeah. And then Kelly and I went to high school together.
Yeah, so we played volleyball together. I didn't grow up talking about any of this stuff. I mean, every once in a while, a conversation would come and go very quickly. There was no time spent on any sort of paranormal things. I had experiences looking back that were just kind of ignored, or I was told like, shh, don't talk about that. So when I met Leanne in high school and we were playing volleyball, she was really fun. And so I spent more and more time with her and started to spend time at her house. And I saw her and Corine, and I saw their dynamic, and I saw Corine delivering life-changing readings for people, just impromptu. And people are all crying all the time, and she knows things that nobody knows, and it's like a family secret, and the will is in this hole in the basement in this house, and like just like crazy things that I couldn't explain. I couldn't logic it. So it was that exposure, and then they started to take me out to places, and so I got to see them in that environment, doing sort of investigation. So seeing them there and seeing Corine see a person in front of her and explaining it to us, and Leanne seeing things and feeling things, and I'm just sort of watching with my eyes wide open, and it sort of crushed everything that I thought I knew based on what I'd been told. And so seeing it myself, I was like, dang, there's so much more. So then with time, I started to realize that I was feeling things and seeing things in my mind's eye, which I didn't really understand what that was. And they kind of helped me reopen up the things that I had shut off as a child. Because having conversations with them, I would tell them like, oh my gosh, this one time this thing happened. And they're like, do you think that could have been something else? And I'm like, oh, that's okay. So I saw my dead dog, who my parents told me was just going away, stuff like that. So it was like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot when we're little and having those experiences, and then having to, and it is life altering and changing when you receive those messages, even especially dogs, like, or pets, like that's, everybody wants to know if their pets are crossed over as well too. Yeah. And I'm glad that you all were able to find each other and were able to talk about it, right? That was such a big thing for me when I stepped out of the witchy woo closet. It was focusing on supporting families with children who were intuitive and kids. Like it was an online radio show 15, 16 years ago. Oh my gosh, more than that. It's painful. 17 years ago. For parenting, parenting children who are intuitive, and I used to run summer camps for kids so that they could all hang out together and have experiences and be able to talk about it, because it was hard growing up, for sure, and keeping it to yourself, right? And the weird is more normal now. I think we're in a world where weird is a little more normal now. So I would like to bring out our 12 days of winter, our 12 days of giving winter. So if you guys follow me on social media, I think this was year 8, doing 12 days of giving. So the first 12 days of December, I do giveaways, discounts, all that kind of fun stuff. Come join me on paranormal investigation, those sorts of things. And Rhonda was the Be My Guest winner. So let's bring out Rhonda. And like, I literally jumped out of my chair, Rhonda, when your name came up. I was like, woohoo!
Congrats, yes.
So
Rhonda, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So fun. And so Rhonda has actually been a guest on Spirit Switchboard in the past. So if you wanted to watch those archives, she, anywhere that you listen to your podcast, all major podcast platforms, you're going to find all those archives there. Rhonda, would you like to introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background?
Yeah. I am a psychic medium. I am part of a paranormal team called Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigations. I am also a podcaster on the Riff Nation Network for the Orion Effect and the Freaking Awesome Paranormal Show. Much like you all, I didn't know about my gifts when I was younger. I figured them out much later. But now things make sense that didn't make sense back then. Like some people, I think you either are very young and accept what you have, or you're very young and it gets shut down, and then some sort of traumatic or life-changing event happens, and suddenly they're in the forefront. And that was me probably 7-8 years ago. So that's when I started working with mentors and learning, more about my abilities and how to do psychism and mediumship, and tarot cards and things like that. And from there, I'd always been interested in the paranormal. Like, I was never a child that was scared of horror movies or scary things or spooky things, or I was the person that everybody knew would be okay with spending the night in a haunted house. So, some of that now makes way more sense. And yes, as Howie Odell said, back then there was many people who told me I had gifts, but I did not believe them. And it was really funny, when you start putting yourself out there a little bit more. And I can remember being on vacation with one of my best friends from high school, and I pulled out my cards and was like, I'm going to practice a little bit. And I was like waiting to see, like, when's the other shoe going to drop? When she can be like, you need help? And she was like, I said, so by the way, I've been taking these classes. And she said, makes total sense. You were always spewing some weird stuff out of your mouth as a kid, and it was right. And I was like, okay, good. Glad we're on the same page.
I get it.
Yeah, but it's not weird. It's just it's way more. And I think too, with all of the shows that are on TV now too, well, even 20 years ago when it started, more and more becoming normal, right? Or easier to talk about, for sure. I still have moments, and I just taught a 5-week meditation course, and twice during that 5-week meditation course that I was teaching, I said, I don't want to sound like a cult leader. Like, here's the weird parts that we can tap into, because like the weird part is real, even though it sounds fantastical at the same time, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's still some hesitation. I still have some hesitation 18 years later, right?
Oh yeah, I get it. I think the one thing that you both pointed out, like, when I was that kid, there was nothing. There was no, like, the only reference of shows I had was like Scooby-Doo or the Ghostbusters movies. Like, you didn't talk about that stuff. So I think that's why I was quiet, right? And like you're saying today, it's so much more normalized and it's so much more open. And we were talking about it just the other day, because all these people have been reaching out for a long time, and they have, like, as soon as you start telling them what you do, I'm sure you both have the same thing. They start sharing their experiences and want to tell you their story about, well, I had this one time that happened. And so I think I finally decided to do sessions with Corine, or spiritual chats with me. And so now people are just sharing their experiences, and it's funny how it's changed. Like, I'm shocked at how open people are about it, because it was so not talked about for so long.
Yeah. Even in 2019, I left the corporate world where, like, you're climbing the ladder and everybody's trying to like compete for positions, and everybody knew I was a ghost hunter on the weekends, because I just didn't care. I'm like, I just tell everybody everything. But I'm like, they probably think differently of me, like, even that was 2019, but now even it's normalized.
Absolutely.
And so Jackie White is sharing, it's so great to find community with anything paranormal. These podcasts really help.
Oh, for sure. I think it's becoming more normalized across the board. Like you said, about the TV shows, the podcasts, the people that show up to events like where we met in the Paracon in Thunder Bay. I was amazed at how many people came out. Like, it was, I think I'm still sometimes that little kid going, really? We're allowed to talk about this? Oh, okay. So yeah, it's come along.
Cheryl is sharing, it helps others listening to people like you with a gift. And I think more are open-minded now versus years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, for my job, like, I've told, like, the people I work with what I do on the weekends. They know that I go on paranormal investigations. And I was funny. Literally, it was like 2 weeks ago, I jumped on a Zoom call, had on my Fredericksburg Paranormal Research Investigation t-shirt, like, jumped on, and they were like, my boss says, Rhonda. And I was like, yes. He said, it's Christmas now. And I said, and I looked at him for a minute, and he goes, oh yeah, that's like every other weekend for you, right? I was like, exactly. Halloween is every other weekend.
Christmas is more haunted than Halloween.
Agreed.
Totally. Isn't it that whole thing about Charles Dickens' story, the Christmas story? Isn't it like they have to scare people into believing this stuff or something?
That's what that whole Victorian time period. That's what they would do at Christmas Eve, is tell ghost stories. And all that fun stuff. Like, and I have been very privileged that this has been my full-time profession for 18 years. So I have always found consistently Halloween sort of opens the door, but by Christmas time, there is no veil. It is like they are right there all the time. So it is, right
I'm
there.
a little jealous. I was telling a friend about this just this week. I'm a little jealous of A Christmas Carol, because we all know, you work with your spirit guide, and how many times they're giving you these random things that you don't understand what they're trying to tell you, and they keep giving it to you. You're like, yeah, come to my dreams and take me on a journey and show me.
It'd be so much easier.
It was a scary. It's a scary story though, and as a kid watching it, like that movie was scary. When was it Ghost of Christmas Past? Was it Past, or I think it was Past, where he opens up the big coat and all those kids' faces are underneath the coat.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I always ended up crying.
Like the Scrooge version.
Oh, with Bill Murray. Yeah, that was good too.
Right?
Scrooge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas traditions. Do you guys have a favorite Christmas tradition? Kelly, do you want to start?
Sure. So I have 3 kids, and one of a tradition that's sort of been established is that every year they like to create a Santa trap to try and capture Santa on film or something like that. So unfortunately, last year, the iPad was set up, but Santa somehow knew and was eating his milk and cookies just out of frame so they could hear him, but they didn't catch him. So this year the plans are more elaborate.
So Santa's like Bigfoot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
You need a blurry. Have you caught a blurry, like a blurry picture of Santa yet?
Well, once upon a time, I actually caught him on camera. So I have a photo from many years ago that they like to look at, and they're like, "It's possible. It is possible. He has been seen."
Yes, so like fun. That is how he is just saying Santa foot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, I think mine goes back. We still do today. Like when we were young, it was all our parents would only play Dean Martin Christmas songs.
Oh.
So it is not Christmas.
Yeah, that's
if we're
true.
not having a drink with Dean Martin songs, decorating the tree. Like it's Christmas when Dino comes on. That's our thing. For me, anyways.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For both of you?
We live in the middle of nowhere, and usually on Christmas Day we light a big bonfire and sit around the bonfire. And just hang
I
out.
love that.
Yeah.
Love it. I would bonfire every day if we could.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I would. Ron, did you have a Christmas tradition?
Other than riding around, like on Christmas Eve, I like to ride around and look at Christmas lights. And then on Christmas Eve, we always watch National Lampoon Christmas Vacation.
Classic.
Yeah.
That is classic. That's fun too. We, so my kids are older. I have 4 kids, and they're not kids anymore. They're still kids, but they're not really kids anymore. So like 31 through to 19. So we have three traditions that we do consistently. And now that I have a granddaughter, the one is going to, continue and be a lot of fun. She's 4. So we do the reindeer food outside, so it brings the Santa faster. And when my kids were small, we'd do that. And then somebody would sneak outside and ring a bell. So it would sound like he was at the house. So they would go to bed fast and go to sleep. We do a family tree. So our Christmas tree has photographs of all past Christmas trees, or my grandparents' Christmas trees, or like our past Christmas dinner gatherings, like from my grandma's house from when I was little to like the last year. So our tree is called the family Christmas tree. So we also do that. And then when the kids were small, I read them The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So it was their first exposure to Turkish Delight. So I buy them a piece of Turkish Delight every year since the time that they were little, even now as adults. And my oldest son lives in Calgary, so he still gets Turkish Delight sent to him, you know, at Christmas. So traditions are important, I think.
Absolutely. Those are great.
So cool.
Contessa's just asking if we all understand the messages we receive, or can it be confusing? So you kind of tapped into that earlier, didn't you, Rhonda?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they are confusing, because you have to understand we're going by what we understand or what's relevant to us. So it's very easy to misinterpret things or be a little bit confused. Sometimes you've got to like dig a little deeper and ask a couple more questions for them to get to what you're truly looking for. But it's very easy to misinterpret something they're giving you, just because all you have to go on is your life and your knowledge of things. And they usually try to show you something that would be reminiscent to you.
Yeah, I think for me, myself, because I've had this since I was so young, I just have kind of like, I've only met a few other people that kind of explain it or articulate it the same kind of way. But for me, I see images, but it's like those old school movie black and white reels. And it's always in my left peripheral right here, like always. And sometimes it's really fast and sometimes it slows down. And so again, I've had to learn over the years, like, why am I seeing like a yellow rose versus a red rose? So like, what does those symbols mean? And the interpretation has been the hardest part for myself. Sometimes you're like, why am I seeing a cauliflower? Like, and then, you know, there's a significance. You're like, well, that makes no sense. So yes, to me, it made sense, but to them, it made perfect sense. So yeah, the interpretation is definitely the trickiest part for me.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Do you guys pick up? Do you want to chime in on that at all, Leanne or Kelly?
I can chime in. I don't see it as Corine sees it. I see things in my mind's eye every once in a while, but I don't spend with the three kids, I don't spend a lot of time decoding what it means. They, however, have more tangible experiences where they see things, and then we call Corine. And Corine, much like you, Kerrilynn, has been so helpful in their journey in this to make it not scary.
Yeah.
Because I can talk and talk and talk and talk, but I'm their mom. And so when Corine says, I've seen that color mist before, and sort of like talks through, asks some questions, and it goes back and forth, they put the phone down feeling so much better. So for them, it's confusing, and they're sort of learning to decode through or with Corine.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to let go of being able to understand all the messages, because it's not ours to understand. Sometimes, you know, the weirdness that will come through is meant for that person to help them trust that connection's actually happening. And so really just, you know, getting out of your own way. And I share this story quite a bit. There was, I've presented at the Spiritualist Church in London, Ontario, a few years ago. And there was this gentleman that used to come up all the time to me and say, "You're my favorite medium." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." Right. And he's like, "Yeah, people tell you no, and you go, and you just keep going." And I'm like,
to me, that was actually, I was in one of your, like, when we were in Thunder Bay, I came to one of your sessions and I was like, "Oh, that's genius," because that was a great way to get around, like, well, I don't know what that means, being double back, but you're like, nope, that's what I saw. I'm like,
yeah, just keep going.
Yes, correct. That's what I saw too.
Yeah. And because it's honoring the whole process. And I feel that's part of what my job is in educating people in how it works. I do my very best to say, this is how it's coming in for me, and I'm going to leave it with you and just keep going, because I got other stuff. I got more stuff to do. Like, I just got a job to do. So here you go.
That's the thing. Like, you know, I still, for most of my teenage and early 20 years, like I struggled even bothering to tell people because I'm like, well, if I'm wrong, they're going to think I'm, you know, completely like fake. But at the same time, Kelly and Leanne were like, but that's what you're seeing. I'm like, that is what I'm seeing. So like, I'm not making it up. This is what I'm experiencing. But
oh my gosh,
it's been a journey for me. Like,
I would tell all of my friends about Corine, all of my colleagues. Like, I'd organize like surprise group readings for.
I love those. Yeah. Do you want to come over for dinner this weekend? And I'd walk in, I'm like, why are there so many cars in the driveway?
Oh, I was just like, you know, it's so life changing for people, and yeah, like you're rarely, like, you're always right, but you don't give yourself the confidence.
Yeah, I'm working through that, as we all do.
But I think that's a whole journey. I don't know if it's ever fully, like, I will do a huge event and then feel like vomiting after.
I understand that feeling.
She said, like, you look so confident, and I'm like, great. That is exactly. And I am confident when I'm coming through because I trust what I'm receiving. But there is still that push-pull where you can feel people. For me, it's more being able to feel people who are disappointed that their people didn't come through and they didn't get it. So that's where my not good enough comes in. Not necessarily that I've done something wrong for spirit, because we're being of service for spirit. So it's like I didn't get hit enough people. Do you want to chime in on that, Rhonda?
Yeah, I think that's, but I tell you what, learning to trust it was my hardest obstacle, to the point that I have the word trust tattooed on me to look at it, because you don't want to disappoint anybody. And it takes it took me a long time to just be able to say, I'm going to say what I say, and it is what it is, and you'll figure it out later, or you won't. And being okay with that. It's hard. It is. I was my own worst critic with it. And I think the worst thing is, you know, I have not done gallery style readings yet. It's always been one-on-one, but you know, it's a struggle, because you're like, did I do the right thing? But I feel a lot like you do sometimes, Kerrilynn, depending on what I did. I did a bunch of readings at my friend's metaphysical shop a few months ago, and I was using tarot, but I was still tapping in any way that was coming. I was just using that to shut my mind off, and I was ill afterwards. I just felt sick because, you know, it just, yeah. Sometimes it can get to you.
So when you guys, so I'm going to come around, Kelly, to you first. When you're doing investigations and you've been out places, so, you know, tapping in, just I'm at home, right, feels one way, or, you know, for a group reading, you're at somebody else's house, that energy is one thing, and you feel a certain way, and then afterwards you feel a certain way. But coming out of investigations, that's a whole other ball game. So what does that feel like for you, and what does it feel like after? So when you're in the moment and then after, how does that feel for you?
Sure. So in the moment, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say energetically or physically, emotionally.
Sure. Sometimes during, for example, if it's an intense investigation, like San Antonio, for example, in San Antonio, I had a very intense experience. A spirit came through to me, was able to show me a lot of information, and then we believe he crossed. And so it was just a lot going on. And so when that finished, for me, I just work on grounding myself, leaving it all behind. Yeah, just the grounding and making sure that I don't bring anything out with me. I find that by the time I leave the building, that I feel perfectly clear and grounded, I suppose you would say.
That's good. How it
is for you guys. Yeah.
So I can feel grounded, but I get cold. Like, I can tell that I've been pulled up energetically. So the coming down, I get freezing cold. And
I'd say Corine. Yeah, I get that. Like,
yeah.
In any, like Kelly was saying, like San Antonio, that was quite the investigation. We were at the Alamo. If you've seen History's Most Haunted, it's episode 1. But anyways,
plug it as much as possible.
Yeah. So we were there, and like there was so much cut from that episode, but the investigation that Kelly was referring to, there was so much happening to all of us. And for me, when you go into a place like that, you're trying to, there's two parts of it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when you're doing an investigation, you're an investigator, but then you're also the medium and you have the psychic abilities coming through and you're trying to make sense of that, plus the equipment, plus, you know, Leanne and Kelly are also intuitive. And so they're going through, and we're all trying to piece together this big paranormal mystery of what's going on. And at the end of it, when we think we've got it, like the activity will just, I don't know about you guys, but it just gets so fast, so intense. And then it's like boom, 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 boom. We see it all. And then it gets quiet. We're like, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I feel like I've been like sucked up and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening, it's happening. And then I come down from that energetic kind of experience and I am freezing. Like these guys can attest. Like I can't feel my fingers half the time.
She's
The
holding
gear's
gear and it's
falling.
like
I'm like,
shaking.
So have you taken like the Melmeter or like with the temperature, and it's 15 degrees different usually for me.
Weird? Like, how is that possible? Like,
I don't know.
You come around us and it's like everyone's fine, and then Corine's like minus 10 degrees from everybody else.
Yes. That's what I say when you watch the movies and they say that there's a ghost, like in order to visually express that, you see that puff of like cold, and it's literally like that.
It's ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah.
Rhonda, do you have? Oh, sorry, Leanne.
I'm so glad to hear you guys say that, because usually after most investigations, you know, I'm on like up, like just bouncing off the walls, but I get the cold too. And I thought it was just me. Usually when I come home from investigation, most of the time I'll jump in the shower, like just to energetically clear myself. But there's sometimes you're so tired, you crawl in bed. I'm talking my feet are freezing, my hands are freezing to the point that I've got it. And I don't warm up until I take a hot shower. I am free. I don't care if it's July and it's 100 degrees outside. I'm freezing. And I remember we were on one investigation and it was cold, but at one point when they looked over at me and I had a hoodie, I'd put my hoodie on and I'd pulled it close and all you could see was this part of my face because I was freezing.
It's a thing, I swear. Yeah.
We were in Newfoundland in February on this tiny little island with strong Atlantic winds, and we were investigating in a field at like 1 a.m. and the winds were just ripping, and we were walking on ice and trying to stay up. And I will know, like in the episode, I think you can see, right?
I can't even talk.
I think you can see Corine like she can't even like speak, and her hands are shaking, and her glove fingers are in the wrong ones, and like she can't know where to put her hands.
It was so cold. Bell Island, January. Like,
Bell Island. Oh,
it was so good. It was so good. That's a highlight for me.
Oh, it's fine. But and then I'm hungry. So it's a 3-hour thing for me. And I need a couple of bites. And I always tell people like a Baconator makes me happy. So I'll eat that, like a couple of bites of that Baconator. It grounds me so quickly. I just need to like a couple of bites. But then I'm grounded. So I have to get grounded. And then I'm freezing cold. And then about an hour later, I'm kind of back to normal again. It takes about 3 hours for me to feel physically back, like not that I'm not grounded, but coming back down and being good.
I know you guys are mentally exhausted at the end of that.
Yeah,
I tell you, imagine Al Bundy and Homer Simpson mashup.
Yes.
I want to be Julie on the couch with like no pants or stretchy pants.
That's right.
It's gonna be comfy. Yes.
Got it.
Got the image?
Yeah. Perfect.
I think keeping it real about the mediumship aspect and what it's really like, because there's what you see on, not everything that you see on TV, it gets polished up, and that's not how it all goes. Thank you, Sandra. I will let my children know that you think my giggle is cute to my children so that they will stop haggling me about it. Lisa Crick, our dear friend Lisa. Lisa has also been on the podcast a number of times. She was actually, she popped on last week unexpectedly as a surprise guest, and she was on the week before. Lisa is also very intuitive and a medium. She is asking, do you ever feel like you have to keep pushing to get those people to come through, the ones who didn't have anyone come through? Don't know if I'm making sense. So you mean for the people who were in attendance who didn't have anyone come through? Well, when it's a big event, there's no way to get everybody, to reach everybody. There's no way.
I think for myself, they're like, thanks to Leanne and her forced group readings over the years.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I know I felt guilty many times where one or two people didn't get anybody to come through. But honestly, I wasn't going to fake it or try. Like, it is what it is. Like, if it doesn't come through, it doesn't come through. And so I explained to them, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm just not connecting with that, whatever reason. The energy's not there today. Like, it's who knows why, but it's not happening right now. And that's just the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
And usually,
And sometimes
get it right.
Yeah.
The people that are supposed to get it, or spirit thinks needs it, gets it.
Yeah.
And the ones that didn't are meant to hear the messages. Like, they're still getting what they're needing by hearing what somebody else has received, right? And it's hard because I did this charity event. I don't even remember who it was for, but I just remember all the firefighters were there with their calendars. So they were part of this. I think it was for Big Brothers or Big Sisters or something like that. But they propped me up at the bar, and there was this huge list of over 50 people, and there were 5-minute readings. It was like speed dating with dead folks. Boom, 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 boom. And I was exhausted, but you can do it. But the thing with that, and you could do that, people don't feel like they're going to get everything they need. So even if you try to make sure that everybody got something, in order to do that, they're only getting this, like this little tiny bit, and it's not helping us work the way that we can shine. It's not really being of service properly, right? So there's all of that. Hello, Jen. I'm glad. Do you want to see the full thing?
So fabulous. So fabulous.
Okay, Grant. Wait, I'm not going to sing happy birthday to you, but we're all going to say happy birthday to you because it is Grant's birthday today, and it is the big 4-0 for Grant.
Happy birthday.
Grant is part of the Ontario Paranormal Society, the TOPS team. They just did a charity event for the Brant County Museum, which was a fabulous event.
It's a good year, 1984.
So Grant has also been on the show a number of times as well too, so you guys can find those archives as well too. Let me come back up. Oh, Tina. Hi, Tina. I saw your question and I was trying to come back up to it. Tina is asking, so when you're alone or out doing everyday things, how do you shut it off? Meaning the spirits or people coming through? Let's go the opposite direction. Rhonda, do you want to go first with that?
For me, because of the mentors I worked with, they were very much taught me how to open up, to be kind of like, it's almost like a sign, like I'm working with spirit, I'm not working with spirit. So they were very much ingrained in me that there's a way to open yourself up and there's a way to shut yourself down. Now, what's funny, Kerrilynn, is when you and I we've talked about, and you told me about just taking a breath and it's there. And I was like, that now works for me. That's not to say when I'm out, I don't pick up on things or see things, but it's pretty much, it's kind of like, yep, not working. Sorry. Keep them going, but I have been. And that was something I had to learn as well, is how to, when I'm working and when I'm not, have it open and shut it down. And set boundaries with spirit overall, because, we're all in tune, set boundaries in your own household, or like, I don't come in my bedroom when I'm not working, when I'm asleep, like things like that. So I don't get a lot, but I do still pick up on things, but it's very much like in passing.
Corine and Leanne?
Well, I'm not a medium, so I don't receive messages like you guys are. I'm not batting them off when I go out to the grocery store and all that. Like, I don't receive it like that. But, sometimes, like, I'll get a very strong name, or I'll like be around, you know, people I work with or whatever, and something will come to me very strongly, and I'll feel the need to say it. But it's very different than how you guys would receive it on the day to day. But I do have very strong like dream premonitions too.
Ooh.
So like that's kind of something that will carry me through a day. Like sometimes I'm expecting something to happen, or knowing something is going to happen that week that I'm kind of waiting for and looking for.
Which is why I wanted my sister to come today and be able to meet you, because that's where she's at too. It's like we're just the same. She's the baby sister too.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I think for me, I go back to the fact that I didn't want to go back to the doctors as a child, so I just learned to shut it down all the time. So I blocked it more than I was receiving it for quite a long time. But like you said, it's not that I didn't have things coming through, but I was like, no, not now. Like, I'm sorry, you're not real. Nope, not talking to you right now. So I would just have boundaries. But as I've gotten older, you know, like as soon as I'm like, so in my day job, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 20 plus years. I have had experiences in the classroom. I've seen things in the classroom, but I'm like, it's not the time to talk about this. So like, I just don't. But at the same time, going back to your comment about how you can just turn it on. Now, if it's time to be on, like it's like a switch. You're like, and here we go. So
Yep.
I think I've been able to shut down when I need and turn on the second I need to have it on. So I think it's just practice and boundaries and 40 plus years of practice, I guess.
And it is practice.
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah. So for me, I'm also not a medium like you guys. So I'm similar to Leanne. Growing up, looking back and having conversations with Corine and Leanne, I do realize that I did have experiences, but for me, the same thing, I shut it down. So it's so easy for me just to live day to day with it shut down. So I feel like for me, when I go and do investigations, I have to consciously turn it on, is what I have to do. So it's easier for me, like when it's quiet, or if I'm like in a room with just a few people, I'll start to get something. And then I'm like, well, if the universe makes it, like presents a situation where I'm able to share this, then I'll share it. And if the universe doesn't want me to, then I just won't. So it's kind of like that for me.
Yeah. Do you find with kiddos, they kind of are pushing you to remember more of that by them having their experiences as well too? So they're having their experiences, so you take ownership of yours as well?
I think so. I think them having their experiences brings me back to a lot of the things that I experienced and forgot, or they'll say, I see this, or I hear this. And it takes me back to some memory. Like just before I came down for this with you guys, one of my kids was like, what did you say? And I'm like, what did you say? And I'm like, your other brother's in the other room. And I was in the kitchen. Who was in the front entryway? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, well, what did it sound like? And he said, well, I said, Mom, is that you? Or Mom, what are you doing? And somebody or something responded. And so he was just like, I just want to eat. And like, cause he's also not feeling well. So he's like, I just want to watch my show. And like, I don't want to. So I was like, okay. But yeah, so these experiences really helped me go back through my own childhood and remember. And even now.
Yeah, that's so good though. Because it helps remind us, right, that we had those experiences, and how are we going to shift the narrative and make it different for them and more normal for them. And I'm that way too. I'm just like Canadian Tire to buy my bucket. I'm just here to do this, and that's all. That's the only thing that I'm here for. My daughter, when she was in grade 4, she used to see the elementary school that she went to at the time was on one corner, the children's cemetery across the street, the mausoleums were at the other corner, and then like the regular cemetery was at the opposite corner. So an elementary school surrounded by cemeteries. Like,
how inspirational.
Yeah. Right? So she was like They're everywhere. And I'm like, you tell them that you are there just for school, that you are not there. You can't, you are, it's a no-go. But if they need help, you and your mom will meet them at 11 on Saturday.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we make dates, we would make dates and that's what we would do.
No, it's really funny too. I think Kelly said it best. Like every single person, they always like, I don't know about you guys, but I always get this question like, well, like, how do you do it? How does it work? Oh, I don't have anything. And I'm like, yeah, but I truly, the three of us believe like every single person has abilities of intuition. Like Kelly's line, I swear you should patent this. It's like a radio dial, right? Like it's like how tuned in is everybody? Some people are tuned right into the station. People are trying to find the station. Some people are way out. They haven't found any station. But we're all able to connect. And I think little kids are so, I don't know why, but they're just so innocent and they're so like open that all these kids, like who puts an elementary school beside all the cemetery? That would have been but like for them to pick up, like how many other kids must have been experiencing things or how many staff must have been experiencing things. Like, that's wild. So
when you guys are about to give a reading or something's coming through, do you have physical things that you start to do? Like, do you start twitching?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Kelly and I joke because like you can totally tell Corine, right? Like it's just we look at her and we're like, oh, like something's coming through. It's like she's got tells, right?
Yep. Yeah. What's your tell, Corine?
Well, I'm not aware. Apparently, I look like a completely insane person when I
bites her lip.
Bites her lip. She'll like twitch. Her hands will twitch a lot.
Yeah.
And you'll look off into space.
Yeah.
It's the left peripheral area, but that's okay.
But she doesn't say anything. It's interesting. It's like the reel is going and she's trying to process it. And then so Leanne or I will be like, oh, Corine, what's going on? And then she'll like snap back and she'll be like, oh. And then she'll start verbalizing.
Because I've never had to really, like, growing up, I never articulated anything. So having Leanne and Kelly's been really good because they're like, so what's happening? I'm like, oh, right. Hi, guys. So I have to slow down and explain what's happening, which has actually been really good for me, too. So I appreciate them calling me on that. But I didn't realize I had tell signs, but that's just me. What about you guys?
Rhonda, do you?
For me, somebody will say, why are you being so quiet?
Yeah.
Because I'm focused on something else. Or like Howie will sometimes like, what are you getting? Because I can tell you're getting something. What's that look on your face? But I think a lot of times it's just I get quiet because I'm zoned out.
Yeah, you're connecting, right? You're trying to figure out what those messages mean. Yeah, absolutely.
I do that. It's like, oh, they're there. Here we go. And I would do it at the mall and my kids would go, no, not here. And I'm like, I know, not here. Like, let's just get our donuts and go.
But it's funny that it's a physical thing. Like I've noticed it now because they've been pointing it out for years, but like my fingers get weird and I actually
I do that too.
Those leads sometimes. Like I'm like, oh wow, how did that happen? Like it's funny because I'm not really.
I do the same. I have a scar on my lip from doing it from when I was a kid.
Me too.
So, wow. Well, yes, soul family.
Yeah, it's actually kind of painful sometimes.
This stuff, I think these things are grounding us because we're going up so quick, so quick and so high. It's helping us stay grounded at the same time. So like, even if you are starting to feel a little overwhelmed, like if you pinch your fingers together, you instantly drop down from here to here, right? So I think that's what it's doing for us, is grounding us and allowing us to go where we're needing to go. Okay, there's some questions. We're going to do a couple more questions and then make sure that if you are in the chat, actually I'm going to dial all that back. Hello, squirrel. I'm going to dial it all back for a second. I'm going to do the station ID at the top right now, because once we get rolling, I don't want to forget about doing it. So if you are joining us now, thank you for being here. You are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 in the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. Thank you so much for being here. We have Beyond the Haunting Investigations, Kelly Ireland, Corine, Carrie, and Leanne Salenbach. And we have the 12 Days of Giving winner, Rhonda Harris, of the freaking awesome Paranormal show and the Orion Effect. And the Fredericksburg, it's a Fredericksburg?
Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigations.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's such a pleasure. I was looking forward to this so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so a couple of questions, and then anybody that is listening, make sure that you've got a pen and paper because we are going to do our paranormal trivia. I was going to do it at the top, but we're going to do it now. Once we're going to do a couple more questions, and we're going to do our trivia game. Sandra is asking, Sandra's asking, is it possible for you to tell how someone has passed from seeing them in spirit? We're going to have a quick sideways for a second. Jen Schneider, I am so glad that you are my funny friend. Yes, I am very proud that I do not have my shirt on backwards because yesterday I had my shirt on inside out while I did session, and then realized that it was inside out. So I fixed it and put it back on, and then did the rest of the sessions with my shirt backwards.
Oh. Whatever. Be weird.
That's great. Oh my god.
I was in a zone. And spirit doesn't really care, and my dogs don't care. So we just roll with it.
Oh my god.
Sandra, is it possible for you to tell how someone has passed from seeing them in spirit? Kelly, would you feel them? Like, do you see them or you feel them, or both?
Okay, so for me, so like in San Antonio, for example, we were in this closet and I could feel, so I was sort of open to communicate, and I could feel things in the closet, and Corine was seeing things. And so oftentimes I kind of like let her take the lead, and I just kind of like back up. So I was starting to feel nauseous, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave this space and go. So they continued, and I went out, and whoever this person was came with me. And so continued to try and I guess communicate. So I went outside, and then that's when it really clicked. And I started to see images of this person, this man. And for me, it's like sort of like a knowing at times. So I'll just kind of know little things. And then I can see, so I saw him laying in a ditch. So I saw how he died. And so this was at the Alamo. So he was like in this like trench sort of a thing, and that's where he lay. And so it's kind of like that. So I suppose for me, if I do get those picture images, then I could tell you how somebody died. But a lot of the time it's just communicating feelings and emotions and body sensations and things like that. So I will say to them, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm seeing. And then we kind of bounce off each other. And it's so helpful for me because I'm nowhere near where you guys are. So it's just like an in development thing for me, which is so amazing and exciting, and it's just such an adventure. I think it's so cool.
And there's no comparison. It doesn't need to be compared. It is all part of the puzzle pieces exactly the way that it's needing to be. And that you get to speak it out and speak your truth. I'm having this experience and it's heard is brilliant. I almost F-bombed and I'm not allowed. So I'm glad that I caught myself there.
Yeah, Leanne texted me. She's like, no swearing.
Not on here. The salty words fly a little bit more, for sure. And Corine and Leanne have watched me work in person, so they know that. It's a totally different thing. Rhonda, do you pick up on how people have passed? Do they?
Well, I was going to say to that, it really depends on the medium and how they work, because we all work differently, all have different clairs that fall into it. I totally believe. So for me, it's always been feeling or just knowing or hearing. 3 or 4 months ago when we were in Salem, Massachusetts and walking through the memorial, all of a sudden I started getting the visuals. I started getting the pictures. And so I saw how people passed away. So I think it's all in how everybody connects. So, and I also know, Kelly, to your point, I wouldn't say you're, like a fledgling or anything like that, because it progresses. Some people have it all at once. Some people start with one thing and sometimes it changes. Maybe something you relied on before, like I always hear, then all of a sudden you see. What I'm learning is it's all about frequency. And sometimes it depends on how the spirit wants to communicate with you. You could literally put all 5 of us in a room based on frequency, and we all pick up on a different spirit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
And different layers of the same spirit sometimes too.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it?
I agree. I'll just comment on that. That's so true, because the 3 of us have commented that in any given location, we don't know who the spirits are going to connect with. So one will connect with me for whatever reason, like you say, and one will connect with Corine, and then Leanne will have her experience. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Our one of our producers, Sean, he laughs at us because sometimes like it's just all happening at once, and he's like, it's like a bunch of squirrels, I'll be like, I think there's something in the wall, and Kelly's like feeling this, and Corine's like, Bill's over here. So, it happens all at once, but for me, it can be very physical, I guess. Like in New Orleans, we walked into a haunted location, and my neck instantly was very, very painful. And she just announces this is where they decapitated the bodies. I was like, oh, okay. Like that, like I feel, and in the Alamo in the tunnel, I felt the pain in my side, and that's where they were stabbed. So I guess I get it more in a physical sense, but I don't know until somebody kind of will tell me that's what happened.
It's not easy when you feel it physically either. It's not an easy thing.
Well, for me, it's weird. Like, it's kind of strange to even try to explain. But so like you said, Rhonda, going back to your point too, like sometimes you just know it. You're like, it was like this, like you see it. But other times, if they appear and like they physically manifest, I've seen spirits who I know they passed away when they were like very elderly, like 80s and 90s. But when they appear to me, they look like they're in their prime 30 years old. So I'm like, wow, like they obviously didn't die at 30. So it takes me some time to understand what's being presented. Whereas other times we'll go into a place and I'm like, it's haunted. It's a demon. I'm like, it's actually Bob, but okay, calm down.
Because they're all Bob.
Right? But the spirit will present itself as it did when he or she passed away. So for me, it's like, I call those hauntings and the other ones have fully crossed. Like, it's just how I kind of interpret the two. So it depends. Like if they're haunting a place, so to speak, and there's activity, there's a reason, there's like a message. They want something to be shared or known. And so they present, and I can see kind of how they passed away. Like I just see it. I don't know how better to explain that. Whereas if somebody's crossed and has come back and looks amazingly in their prime with a different color kind of to them, to me, that means that they fully crossed, and that I have to kind of understand the images they shared to understand how they passed, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting perspective. I've never thought of it that way. That's cool.
Like I've always explained, like I've tried to articulate it to people where it's like, if you have a glass bottle and we're on one side and we're living beings here, and when you cross to wherever that might be, you go through the bottle. Well, some spirits, I believe, get trapped in that bottle, and that could be the haunting. Like that's why you see them as they were. There's activity, there's movement, there's door slamming, things are happening. And then when you fully cross, you go through the whole bottle and you come out the other end. And that's how I kind of try to explain how I see someone in their prime. So I don't know if that metaphor works, but that's how I've interpreted what I've seen my whole life. It's either like, okay, you're still here. Why? Oh, you look like you're doing okay. Like, well, you've come back. What's the message? Or why are you still here? So that's kind of how I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it does make sense because it's how it works for you. So you're articulating it, in your experience, and it helps everybody understand, right? I'm very rigid with I have a very clear structure. You need to show me how you died, connections, children, siblings. It's a checklist. Boom, 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 boom. That I need that information to come in, and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, then I know why. They don't, because there's addictions and there's other things. And as soon as I say I'm not going to judge, then they show me the other bits and pieces, right? But that developed certainly over time. I was definitely, Kelly, I would say very similar to you, where I would have certain things and I was just bold. That's not working for me. I need you to show me that. I need you to do more, because this isn't feeling so good.
Yeah.
Pony up. I used to say pony up all the time. Pony up, show me. Pony up. Don't waste my time. Let's get it going. Come on, let's go. Grant, you are very welcome. I hope that you are having a great day. I realize I appreciate all of these comments, and I'm going to come back around. I'm going to do my very best to come back around. We're going to do this really quickly. We're going to play this paranormal trivia game. So if you guys are wanting to play in the chat, or those people who are listening, I'm going to give the answers at the very end of the show before we finish. And the first person that emails me all of the correct answers, I am going to, and you need to be patient too, because Canada Post just stopped their strike. So it's going to take a while to mail anything out. But I'm going to, not this one because this one's mine, but I'm going to send you the Keep It Weird travel mug. And it's me under the sheet, just so y'all know.
Love it.
So good.
Yeah. So it's got a handle and everything. It's awesome. Hot, cold, doesn't matter. Get your little travel mug. Leslie, does pony up mean be honest? Pony up means show me your stuff. Show me the structure. Show me the evidential pieces of information that I'm needing, so that we can keep moving. All right. Okay. They're fun. It's just fun and silly. Grab your pen. Grab your papers, ladies.
Okay. I'm using my
Hey.
phone.
All righty. Who was Snoopy? Question number 1. Who was Snoopy's foe in the song Christmas Bells? A, do you remember? Do you remember this song? Christmas Bells? So your choices are A, the Red Baron, B, Black Adam, C, Hugo Strange, D, Red Skull. Who was Snoopy's foe in the Christmas song, Christmas Bells? Thanks for watching us while you're Christmas shopping. Don't put your answers. I'm glad that you know it, but don't put the answer in the chat. Don't put the answer in the chat.
Where's the chat? Yes.
Question number 2. What is another name used for Bigfoot? A, Giant Man, B, Sasquatch, C, Neanderthal, D, Ramapithecus. Okay. Question number 3. How many sons does Gryla, the Icelandic giant troll, have? So this is a Christmas story. They are known to come down each Christmas and take all the naughty children, or yeah, I think it was Gryla, all the naughty children back up the mountain and eat them. And the sons are known as the Yule lads. So how many sons does she have? A, 5, B, 7, C, 9, or D, 13? James, do you know, there's a few questions in here, James, that I think you'll know. Got your guess? Okay. Question 5. What creature is said to arrive on the evening?
Question 4.
4. Sorry, folks.
I was like, did I miss this?
Oh my goodness. It's a test. It's a test.
Squirrel. Oh yeah, so 4. Thank you. Where would you travel if you wanted a chance to see Nessie? A, Scotland, B, Finland, C, Wales, or D, Norway? If you wanted to go see Nessie. Okay, now 5. Thank you. What creature is said to arrive on the evening of December 5th with Saint Nicholas? A. Belsnickel. B. The Yule Cat. C. Krampus. Or D. Tomten. December 5th. These are all the creepy Christmas. Christmas is creepy. So, question number 6. Mary Lou. Are you good? You're all panicking?
No, I think you
It's all
just
good.
I
It's
think
all
you
good.
just gave away the last answer, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Never mind.
Question number 6 is what we're at, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the tradition. Mary Lou. The skeleton of what animal that goes door to door between Christmas Day and the 12th night? A. Cow. B. Raven. C. Horse. D. Goat. Mary Lou. Do you know this?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
You guys look so
She'll
confident.
I'm trying to be confident.
Green's looking at my answers.
Because she's wrong. Come on. I got my own.
So, Ogopogo is a lake monster. Which country is home to this creature? A. Canada. B. The United States. C. Spain. Or D. Brazil. Question 8. In France, Saint Nicholas has an assistant, Père Foutard, who was A. Cannibal butcher, B. Former duke, C. A blacksmith, or D. A farmer. And if anybody wants to know, all of these stories are also in Jeff Belanger's Krampus book. Which is a great book. And I didn't know. And then I felt silly after because he asked me if I knew. And I had to fess up and say, no, I didn't know. He's got this beautiful red ribbon that comes out. I thought it was like a bookmark. I am a book lover, right? This little ribbon to keep
The tongue.
It's the tongue. It's the red tongue of the Krampus. This ribbon that comes out that you use. It's supposed to represent, it's all forked and everything. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
That's very on brand for Jeff. Yeah.
Yes.
on brand. It's true. Wait, what number? Sorry, I lost track.
9.
Okay, so question 10.
No, 9.
No, we're on 9.
Oh, 9. Sorry. What is traditionally hidden inside Christmas pudding? A coin, B, a button, C, a thimble, or D, a charm? Those crazy Victorians.
I might change my answer based on that.
Are we good?
Corine has a funny story for another time about New Orleans and a baby in a cake. But
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mardi Gras. King cake.
You can tell that as soon as I've got just a couple more questions and then you can. Who was the first ghost to visit Scrooge in Christmas Carol? A. John Marley. B. Marley Jacobs. C. Jacob Marley. D. Jake Matthew.
say what now?
Yeah, wasn't it just
Jacob,
plastic?
Jacob, Jacob.
Did they have names?
Wow.
I'm just gonna write Bob Marley.
I'm picturing Kelly the Muppet movie. Remember when they like screamed the name?
Yes.
Wow.
What do they say when you take tests? If you don't know the answer, go with B or C.
Yeah. Oh, can I write B? Thank you, Rhonda.
go with B too. It's probably wrong.
Okay, James, who also goes by the Wiz. So it's believed, right? The veil is thinner at Christmas time than it is over Halloween. So in Norway, they believed that witches and evil spirits would descend upon the homes at Christmas on Christmas Eve and create destruction. So what item would the Norwegians hide to prevent the witches and evil spirits from traveling faster? A, a soup pot, B, a rolling pin, C, a broom, or D, a kettle? B for Bob Marley. So in Icelandic folklore, why would the Yule cat come down from the mountains to devour people? A, because it's hungry. B, for bad behavior. C, the joyful noises irritated the Yule cat. Or D, the people devoured had not received new clothing that Christmas Eve.
One I know for sure.
The Victorian celebration of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve is the foundation of the story of Christmas Carol, written by who? A, Richard Charleston, B, Charles Dickens, C, James Dickinson, or D, Wilkie Collins? Okay, those are all our questions. So have you got all your answers written down? And then I'll tell you all the correct answers at the end, just before we finish the podcast.
Well, I know I got one right.
I got one. I felt bad I didn't know the Peanuts one. Snoopy. That's the one I'm like, why do I not know this?
That was fun. I like that quiz.
Yeah, that was great.
Do you want to tell your
Okay.
baby and the cake story?
Yes.
While we were filming for History's Most Haunted, we were in New Orleans, and it happened to be my birthday, and it was also we were looking for cake, and I was really hungry one night, and they had these delicious looking cinnamon buns called the king cake, and I was like ravenous. Like, we'd been filming all day. I was like so hungry, so I was like, yeah, I'll take one to go. So I think you bought one. Everybody bought one. Like, everybody bought one of these cakes. So I go back to my room, and I'm so excited. I have like this tea or coffee, and I'm gonna have this cake. And I took this massive bite because I was so hungry, like massive bite. And I just bit down, and I still to this day have an issue with my tooth. And I bit into something hard, and I was like, whoa. So like I spat this out, like, what the hell is in my cake? And there's this tiny baby doll, plastic toy. And I start dry heaving because I'm like, what child was allowed to be in a bakery? Like, this is disgusting. All I could picture was like little toddler hands on this toy in my cake, and I'm losing it. My tooth is horrible. I'm like, oh my God. I'm texting everybody. I'm like, did you guys get any weird toys in your cake? They're like, no. I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to have to sue the restaurant. I'm going to have to be tested for disease. Like, I was like,
So she takes a photo of this thing, like the cake. And all I could think of when I see this photo is like, is that how big you take a bite out of
I'm like, nope, there's a baby doll, Leanne.
Like, the bite was like half the bun.
So we go flying back downstairs, and I'm like, there's a baby doll on this cake. And they're like, congratulations. I'm like, what?
Yes, you're the winner.
I didn't know that. I was like,
You are the.
It's good luck, right?
but I didn't know
Yes.
what to say. I went down hot, like ready to like, what's wrong with your bakers? This is embarrassing. I'm gonna break it. They're like, you win the king cake. I'm like,
So she got another cake as a consolation.
but yeah. So now that's just forever in my memory as. baby doll. Broke my
Leanne,
teeth.
Corine, you texted us, and I think it was Leanne. Was it? Somebody dropped their dirty baby doll in my cake, and she just like was
I
like,
was using it. Now I know.
So then for her birthday, Kelly and I booked an Uber to like Walmart and bought these huge plastic baby dolls and just put them everywhere.
oh.
Yeah. I unfortunately still have some of those.
I love it.
That's also like that was part of the Victorian time too, like for the unmarried folks, right? Like if they got, it would dictate their future if they
Yes.
found something in their piece of cake.
Well, it made much more sense afterwards, but there should have been a warning. Like,
We learned a lot.
we had an incident. I swallowed that.
Just assumed that you knew.
Corine, do you still have the baby?
I still have that baby doll, let me tell you. Nice. You wouldn't let me get rid of it.
Well, you never know. I can't control you.
Does it look like those little frozen Charlotte? Do you know what those look like? Those little frozen
No.
Charlotte
They're
dolls?
little plastic naked babies.
Yeah, little
Do you have
plastic.
it?
Little cutesy dolls?
Huh?
Yeah, it literally was a little plastic naked baby. I was horrified.
She was cry heaving.
What is in my cake?
It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, that was a moment.
Yeah.
Most memorable interaction with spirit, most memorable investigation experience during investigation. Kelly?
For me, it was, there's been a lot with investigating, but for me, it was when I looked back to my childhood, it was the first experience where I saw spirit clear as day. So I was 3. It was the day that my parents told me my dog was going away. Smokey's just going away. And so I remember going to bed and being confused, but okay, he's going away. Went to sleep. And then in the middle of the night, I just remember sitting up in my bed, looking in the doorway, and my dog was standing in the doorway. And I remember feeling like, oh yes, like he's here still. I feel okay. It felt so peaceful and joyous. I went back to sleep, and the next day I went straight to my parents and I was like, where is he? Where's Smokey? And they're like, oh no, he's gone. And that was kind of all the conversation that was had. So it was very confusing to me. So then fast forward many, many years, I brought it up with the ladies just randomly, and they're like, oh, you understand what that is now, right? And so I hadn't, it's like with the kids, when they have experiences, it brings me back and it's like, oh God, like, yeah, I know exactly what that is now. But it was such a nice feeling when he did come back, because we were super tight. He was like my source of love and all of that. So it was really special when he showed up. So to have that eventually be explained for me, it was really nice. So that was the first major, huge experience that I had.
And I love that it wasn't like a lot of times, everybody wants like the spookiest story. And sometimes that's not the most impactful experience that you've had with spirit, is the spooky stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it may be, but
Yeah.
I love that it was that experience for you. And that you get to share that with your children. Like that.
Yeah.
It is powerful too. Leanne?
For me, I always go back to this one. And Rhonda, you were just in Salem, so you can relate to this one maybe. But we arrived and we walked the memorial, and all these feelings start coming to you. And everybody's talking about Bridget Bishop. You know, she was the first one killed. There's a lot of history with her there. And we were investigating where she had her orchard. I think it's now the Seafood Turner House. And so that was our last investigation, I believe. But the whole time, you know, we're trying to connect with Bridget Bishop. And I'm like, is this really going to happen? You know, like, what are the chances of this? And then we're at the Seafood Turner House, and Kelly and I are crawling in like some attic space. And Corine's down, and all of a sudden, like, everybody starts feeling something. And our gear starts saying Bishop. And it was just like, are we seriously having this conversation right now? And then the whole message was about truth and telling her story and getting history right, you know, like how she wasn't a witch and how like she was just a powerful woman with a voice and a story to tell. But it was like, it stuck with me. Like the whole beginning to end of Salem was powerful, but the whole connecting with Bridget and just like somehow saying that out loud and telling her story like reverberated somewhere.
Wow, hey?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like there were messages there where it was like news about me wrong.
Yeah, like it was so clear.
It was wild. Yeah, it was intense.
Do you think the collective of everybody there helps amp it up?
I do.
Like, yeah.
I think having all of us in the space, like, it's funny because we'll walk into, I really have to give props to our producers and our tour production team because they're like, so you're just gonna go, like, yeah. They're like, so something's gonna happen, right? We're like, just give us a few minutes. So like when we do go in, it's like they have a lot of trust in us because when we walk in, we'll be walking around and then all of a sudden, like, something might not happen for like an hour, or it could just be like, and go. And like, we're just picking it up. So we've joked since we were quite young that we act as battery packs for each other. And when we're around each other, all of our energy and all of our abilities and intuition are heightened. Because once we're in a room together, it's just like, whoa, what's going on? So
Yeah.
I completely agree that, when you're with like-minded people and the energy is a certain way, absolutely, it heightens it.
Do you have an experience you want to share? Most impactful experience?
The most impactful of
Spooky
my
if
whole
you
life.
want it to be?
Yeah, it was the man in the plaid shirt, which, spoiler alert, I did find out who he was.
Did you?
I did, yeah. So when I was in a car accident, I saw that man and I saw him every day moving forward. I was 15, almost 16, and my grandma, who was in the accident with me, survived, and she ended up moving in with us. And I was helping her clean up something out of her closet, and I'd gone on her step stool, and a box of these photos had fallen on the floor. I'm like, So I started picking them up, and then I found one, and I just started shaking. I'm like, it's the guy in the plaid shirt. I'm like, who is this? So I looked at my grandma, and I was like, I could barely say any words. I'm like, who is this? And she's like, oh, and she sits on her bed. She goes, well, that's your grandfather. I'm like, what? And I was like, I'm sorry, story? What the heck? And long story short, he had passed away when our dad was only like 9 or 10. And she'd remarried, and they didn't have pictures up, and we never knew him or saw photos of him. And so it was just, to me, that was like life-changing, because it wasn't some man to be scared of. It was my grandfather in the car with us, helping his wife, helping me. And I saw that guy every day until 2010 when our dad passed away. So yeah, that one to me has been, it's my life story. Like that one, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have had this. Like, I don't know. So yeah, that's a big one for me. Yeah. The fam was looking out, I guess.
I find it funny that people don't talk within the family structures, or that generation didn't talk. It's very different now, but that generation just didn't talk about stuff.
And there wasn't tons of photos, right? Like, we only have maybe a handful of him that we've since found. And now that we know, it's like, holy cow, like every shirt he's in a plaid shirt. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. Like, that's all he apparently wore. But yeah.
This is why if somebody says no to you, you just go, and you just keep going.
Yeah, really.
I like
right?
that.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Rhonda?
Well, we've had some couple of really good experiences with EVPs, but I'm just going to say, for paranormal investors, I think the thing we have to keep in mind is it's supposed to be fun. Like, we love this. So and I've said this on a couple of other podcasts, but one of my all-time best experiences was, even as paranormal investigators, while you don't get scared because you're here for this, you can get startled. And so our team earlier in the year was at Sweet Springs Sanitarium in West Virginia. And we were doing an investigation, and there's this one particular area where over the course of a couple of months, we noticed that a lot of times women who, if they walked in this specific ward, would get growled at. And so we hit this is our time to investigate this. So we send the men down one way, and we go this other way. And we decide we're going to pretend we're nurses, and we're going to do like last duty call. Is there anything you need? Shift change. So we go down this whole hallway, knocking on doors, trying to be trigger objects, right? And so as we're going, I noticed that I keep feeling like somebody keeps running up behind me, because you're in pitch black dark. We have little flashlights, pitch black dark. You know how you'll be somewhere and somebody will like try to scare you, and they'll run up behind you. that's what I kept feeling like. And so Kim, my dear friend, she's in the chat. Kim says, she says, I feel pennies in my, like iron or something in my mouth. So we get to the end of the hallway. And I have to note that my dear friend had surgery a few months before and she was on a cane. So we get to the end of this hallway, nothing has happened other than what Kim experienced and what I experienced. So no growls, no nothing. And we're like, okay, well, I guess we need to turn around and go back. As we start to turn, we literally hear, woo! I say all, we start running because we thought we were done. Like literally, we're like, okay, giving up. We're walking, woo! Like literally off Scooby-Doo. But literally, we all hear it because we all start running. And Kim says, wait. I was like, oh my gosh, we've left Kim behind. So then we stop. And then it hits us. And we all realize, oh my God, we're the worst paranormal investigators ever. And we all start dying laughing. Of course, the men, like way down in another hall in a sanatorium, if you know them, they're huge. They see all they hear is us running and then chaotic laughter that we did this. And it was just so funny because it was the first time do you get scared? No, but I've been startled. Where it just sent me, all of us running. And it's the funny, there's even our team leader, he made a sticker that's called, it says FPRI Sweet Springs Sanatorium Track Team. With little images of all of us.
That's good. I like that. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
That is funny. Okay, let's take a peek through here.
I'm a runner as well. Like, yes, she is. That's my reaction.
And it didn't sound like what you would expect to hear. That's when I realized whoever this is, he means no harm. He's just messing with us. He is literally just messing with us.
I had, I think that one of the most impactful experiences I had helped me understand about being in service for spirit. And that we have this team of people. There was definitely the house that we were living in had some stuff going on because of the land that it was on, who had lived in the home before us. There was lots going on, and it was affecting my oldest son. So he was awake all night, wanting to sleep during the day. His personality changed. There was a lot. There was stuff going on. So I decided I was going to go in and clear the space out, but I was really just sort of like stepping out, I was just starting this journey publicly, stepping out, and no mentor or anything. So I go in guns a-blazing, right? I go in, I got my little smudge stick. I'm going to get rid of whatever this is. And I just go in, and it was not human. It growled at me. And then I thought that I had dropped smudge on my arm because my arms were burning. And so I stepped out of the room and looked down, and I was 3 scratch marks from elbow to wrist on both arms, like this. Wow. So I ran a bath, put salts in it, put crystals in it, and I called my friend crying. I went, "You are freaking whacked if you think I am going to do this for a job. You are whacked. I am not going to step. I am not doing this. This is crazy. No. And she's like, "Did you call in your team of people to watch over you and protect you? And did you ask to be of service?" And I went, "No." And she said, "So you made it about you. You were going to clear it. You were going to do this all on your own." And I'm like, "Yep." And she's like, "Okay, so get out of the tub and go do it right." I'm like, "Okay." And then I went in and was called in my team of people to watch over, guide, and protect me, and to be of service in the way that I was needing to be. And then we cleared it and it was gone. But it was the biggest lesson. So, and for me too, not being scared of the dark, knowing that light came first, and Yeah, it was super. It was powerful, all kinds of ways. And I've never been scratched or growled at since. Like
Nice.
just like that long ago. You only need to get scratched once to know to do your shite so that it doesn't happen again. Like, no.
I've been scratched once as well.
Once is enough, right?
That's enough. Yeah. All over my neck. Just like nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's burny. It's really hard to explain. And it's like delayed burn.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I just remember I was sitting across the table from Leanne, and we were talking to some other people, and everybody just kept looking at my neck, and I'm like, my neck's kind of like really burny. But I remember I had a glass of water, so I wasn't touching my neck. And then it just kept getting worse, and then Leanne's eyeballs get bigger. I'm like, what? And sure enough, yeah, it was like these like claw marks, 3 on each side, kind of going like,
Oh,
yeah, very weird.
Yeah, it was like they didn't want you telling that story or saying whatever she was saying.
I
got rid of it, but like, yeah, same thing. Once and done.
Yeah. And knowing how to deal with it again. Sandra, I just want to bring this up so that you are aware that we saw this. So coming back, she was asking us the question about being able to tell how somebody has passed, like in doing a session. So she's just saying, thank you. I was wondering because it is a personal thing for me. Someone very close to me died and I never got to say goodbye. So thank you for allowing us to tap into all of that for you. I'm very sorry that you didn't have that closure before your loved one passed.
And a shout out to Sandra because I know she's a fellow BCer. Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah. Kerrilynn, you probably met her at Paracon in Thunder Bay because I think you were there. I think she was there.
Was she at the
She was just a
bakery?
guest. Yeah.
Then maybe I did meet them.
I'm thinking you did. Yeah.
Lovely people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that there was questions and now there we go. Oh, Laura Lee is also showing that she's been scratched and burnt as well. Her partner was thrown 15 feet across the kitchen in her old house.
Wow.
All kinds of nasty things. Had to learn quickly years ago about all of those things. Here we go. Linda Nelson is just asking, maybe you answered this already. I may have asked before, I can't remember, but if you are alone and this comes into you, but you don't know who it is for, do you just sit on it or how do you handle it? Anybody would like to?
I get stuff quite often where I'm not 100% sure who it's for or why I'm getting it. Sometimes something will come to me days before something will connect. And so I'll have something and it just, when you just can't shake a thought and it's like, why am I thinking about this? What is this? And then days, weeks later, it'll just be like, oh my gosh, this is for you. That makes sense for you. And like, so I sit on a lot of things because I'm not 100% sure what direction or who I'm supposed to be giving that to it sometimes. Other times it's very clear. But sometimes messages will randomly like start to form and then the seeds planted and then it kind of grows a little bit over the next couple of weeks or a couple of days and then it kind of connects. But I try not to think about too much when I'm like alone and at home and not trying to think about it. But if something does come through that strong, it's something. So you kind of let it germinate a bit and then see where it goes. But yeah, it's for a reason for me. At some point, it'll make sense. But it's sometimes, like for example, when we were going to Montreal, for whatever reason, we didn't even know we were going to Montreal to film an episode at that point. And I just remember getting this weird dream and having it consistently and getting these weird messages. And I'm like, what's with this basement? Like, I was seeing all these things that didn't quite make sense. And then eventually, it made, once we knew we were going, we got there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. Okay, this is what the message is for. So sometimes you just sit.
And again, it comes back to boundaries too.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's do the answers. I just have to be mindful of our time because we have like about 9 minutes. Okay, so the song Christmas Bells about Snoopy. It's Snoopy and the Red Baron. A.
Woohoo.
Hey,
I got it right and I guessed.
Did you? Nice. The only one I recognized.
Red Baron. So number 2, another name used for Bigfoot would be B, Sasquatch. 3, how many sons does Gryla, the Icelandic giant troll, have? D, 13. 13 Yule lads. Number 4. Where would you travel if you wanted a chance to see Nessie? Would be A, Scotland. Number 4, right? 5. 5?
Yes, 5.
What creature arrives is said to arrive on the evening of December 5th with St. Nicholas? C, Krampus. Number 6, the Mary Lute is a horse. Number C. Have you seen any of that? Do you know the
Did
Mary
anyone
Lute?
get that right?
Green's in such teacher.
Right.
Like,
But it was a guess.
So you need to look at it's hauntingly beautiful, and they all dress up like these skeleton horses with like flowered wreaths and capes.
oh, I have
and
seen that. That's what that's called.
they go door to door. So that's the Mary Lute. That's the skeleton horse that goes door to door. And like they'll break into your house and steal your food and all that kind of stuff. That's like part of the story. Okay, so 7, Ogopogo is a lake monster. to which country? It's A, Canada. Did you guys get that?
I did.
Okay. 8, right? I skipped over a couple. 8, in France, St. Nicholas has an assistant, Père Foutard, who was a cannibal butcher.
Way off.
Yeah.
I would not have put it with a cannibal butcher. So I said blacksmith.
Yes.
Me
So
too.
when I had Jeff on the show last year and we were talking about the Krampus book, he talked about he shared all about the cannibal butcher.
Oh my gosh.
All about the cannibal butcher. Okay. I think the next one was what's traditionally, right? Is that the one we did next? What is traditionally hid inside Christmas pudding?
Yeah.
Yes.
A, coin.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't do those ones. Okay. In Norway, witches and evil spirits descend upon the homes. What would they hide to prevent the witches and evil spirits from traveling faster? It is C, broom.
I think you might have missed 10.
Did I? What did I
You
miss?
skipped Bob Marley.
Marley.
Oh, Bob Marley. Oh, wait.
I have to know if it's B now. We can't skip that one.
Oh, I did. It's right at the top. Who was the first ghost? Jacob Marley.
Yes.
Jacob Marley.
Thank you, Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Was that A or B?
It was C.
Oh,
C. Jacob Marley.
Last.
And it was so funny because that's what you said, Rhonda. You're supposed to pick C if you're not sure.
B or C, if you're not sure.
Yeah. Sandra, Ogopogo is my neighbor. Sandra's saying Ogopogo is the neighbor. So these stories. Yeah, look them up. Actually, buy Jeff Belanger's Krampus book. And most of these stories are
Beautiful too. It's a beautiful book just to sit around.
It is a keepsake book, like hand-me-down keepsake book. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So the next one would be C, broom is what they would hide. And, okay. all my papers. Oh, the Yule cat.
Corine is in such teacher mode. Corine's like, check.
Me too. I'm not a teacher.
We'll
I'm a
also have
project manager.
That's awesome.
I'm here checking and Xing.
In Icelandic folklore, why would the Yule cat come down from the mountains to devour people? The answer was D. The people devoured had not received new clothing that Christmas. And that was stories that were told by the farmers as an incentive to encourage their workers to finish spinning the wool that they collected in the autumn. So like they would scare their workers to work harder.
Yeah, so there's truth to these stories. There's reasons behind all these crazy stories.
Well, all of them too, right? Is to get your children to behave. And part of it too, like in dark at nighttime, it was scary outside and bad things could happen as well too. Animals, cold, all of that stuff. So stay inside, don't go out at night. Like there is all those reasons. But the Victorian celebration of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve is the foundation of the story of Christmas Carol, written by B. Charles Dickens. So folks that are listening, first person that emails me, all the correct answers will get mailed one of the lava mugs, the Keep It Weird.
That was awesome.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank
fun.
you everybody that was in the chat and hanging out with us and sharing. I know I didn't get to all the questions, but I appreciate that you guys were here and supporting everyone. Really quickly, we've got like 2 minutes. So Kelly, Corine, and Leanne, where can people find you? What's coming up next? I know that you guys have some exciting things to share.
Yeah, so right now you can find History's Most Haunted on T&E in Canada. And you can also find it in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and the US on Haunt TV. You can follow us on social media at Beyond the Haunting. We're on Instagram and Facebook, or beyondthehaunting.ca is our website. And are we allowed to talk about next steps?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
So we have some big news for 2025. So we are working on a project in Ireland. So stay tuned. That will be coming out next year. So yeah, you'll see us
So cool.
on the road in Ireland soon.
Yeah, that's the first time we've said this.
Yeah.
So for all your listeners.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's
Heard it
exciting.
here.
Thank you thank you so much. Lots to look forward to. And Rhonda, people can connect with you on Tuesday evenings with the
Yes, you
freaking
can,
awesome.
you can find me on Facebook at Rhonda Harris. Also, if you find on Facebook, Riff Nation Network, we're on Facebook. We go live. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, all of that. So on Sunday nights, it's the Orion Effect at 7 p.m. on Riff Nation Network. And then on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. is the freaking awesome Paranormal Show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a safe, healthy, and joyful Christmas holiday. Thank you, everybody that was in chat. Thank you to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. Please stay watching, and you guys can enjoy Jeffrey Pritchett's Church of Mavis coming up next on UPRN. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
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 Bye.